Are you being completely unrealistic with your fat loss goals or your goals of getting stronger or gaining muscle? That's what we're going to talk about today on Unload It. I'm Crystal. This is Megan. We're your hosts, and we're really excited that you're joining us. If you have any questions at all, we're going to pop our contact information into the video description and you can reach out. I thought this was a really good one for us to dive into, Megan, because this is something that comes up all the time for both of us. For me, helping clients with their nutrition goals, and then obviously doing some like of the fitness stuff in there too. And then for you, working with your clients that have goals of like getting stronger, putting on muscle,
Yeah.
maybe acquiring some new skills. We're regularly having these conversations about rate of progress, and
Yeah.
it can be for some people like it's just like a non-issue. Okay, like I'm in it however long it takes, but for other people it can get a little bit more challenging because I think we get misaligned expectations popping up.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a personal trainer who doesn't offer nutrition planning and generally just refers out for something specific like that, there's still ways that I and trainers like myself can guide our clients in healthy or towards healthy, sustainable approaches to like a slower weight loss while you're still maintaining or even putting on muscle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the most important part is setting the like realistic, manageable expectations from the get-go. So when you first
Yeah.
start with that client, doing a really comprehensive intake and getting some background on their exercise and diet history. I love
Yeah.
doing that. I want to know, and I want to have that conversation. It's not just like I'll send an online intake form, but I also love to have a phone call with clients because I get to feel
Yeah.
them out. I get to really have that conversation about like, what have you done? Like, what worked for you?
Yeah.
What didn't work? Why do you think that was? And it's so important because I'm going to set the tone very early about what they can expect from me as a coach. I'm
Mhm.
not delivering fast fixes. I don't promise like 30 pounds in 30 days. Like I say that to clients all the time. Like if you're after some sort of like really rapid transformation, this isn't going to work out. Like you won't enjoy my program.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that as nutrition coaches and fitness coaches, it's just so important to find out a little bit about the person that you're working with and like what they've done, and then ultimately that's actually going to impact how they move forward. So if you're working with that person who's really new, like to
Yeah.
fitness and nutrition, they've never really done anything before, every day is just like a miraculous PR. Like their progress is just like incredible because they're going to possibly experience like some recomposition where they're gaining muscle, losing fat, and like
Yeah.
just getting strong really fast. Their rate of progress will be so much different than that more seasoned, like sort of veteran, client who's been at this for a long time and is maybe just coming, maybe they're coming back after a layoff. Maybe they're looking to change things up with a
Yeah.
coach. And so their rate of progress is going to be different, right? They have to have more reasonable expectations about,
Yeah.
maybe they're just refining a few things, but they're not going to experience that rapid, like, oh my gosh, like look at this. So, and I think that's just such an important conversation to have.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's a hard sell in the first place to get people to exercise when they didn't really want to already. And then you layer in like now you're plateauing. We need to get in some nutrition. But every time they have to get over this new barrier, get over a plateau, you have to kind of buy into something new because it's a different level of work if you want to keep working on it. And that long-term approach that especially you take, I appreciate as a
Hmm.
more patient client of Crystal's. And I think when people try and move too fast, they're just like, I do see disappointment because they want all of the answers, but you have to find your own answers in a lot of ways. Otherwise, you're just going to keep having to try something new. So why
Yeah.
not just take the more patient approach and find what works for you over a few months or
Yeah.
maybe even a year
Years.
versus
Yeah.
1 month, bang, bang, boom, quick results, maybe. And then you're back to finding out what works in the long term anyway.
Yeah, it's all about that sustainable approach. And I think that's just sort of like a problem in terms of like, diet culture and fitness culture. We live in the world of instant gratification. And so
Mhm.
trying to
Mhm.
convince people that, listen, like, the road less traveled is the road to success. Ultimately, this is where people who, you see maybe like you desire to have a certain outcome. I can tell you that like it probably wasn't a quick fix that got that person there. So,
Yeah.
and I think people are almost always surprised at how long it takes to
Yeah.
achieve their goals when it comes to, in particular, with I would say like fat loss and gaining muscle.
Yeah.
And when we get into that nutrition piece, like it's just because there's so many things that you need to consider, like
Yeah.
especially like we're working with women. Have you had kids? Like, is this impacting? Like, are we coming back from like, oh, okay, so like we took a couple of years off, and oh, my body's not responding the
Mhm.
way it used to. Okay, well, how old are we now? Like, our hormones impacting where we store fat? Like,
Yeah. The
there's
age
so many
absolutely,
layers.
like you're different. Yeah, it absolutely affects things. And I think
Yeah,
when people think of, okay, you know what, I'm going to go with Crystal because I'm going to be patient and I don't want that 30-day challenge. So
yeah,
I'm not going to think in 30-day boxes, but long term, 30 days is the short fix. Then long term is probably like, 4 months. But
yeah.
sometimes it takes
It's
10
longer.
months. Like, so
Yeah,
the long game is a lot longer
yeah.
for
I
most
guess too,
people. And
like,
that's where they find disappointment very quickly.
yeah.
But
I think it's hard to escape like wanting to see like a miraculous transformation because
for
the
sure,
thing
I want
about
it too. Yeah.
yeah, and I think the thing that's tough in when we start looking at making changes with nutrition, and nutrition in particular too, is that there is such a like level of effort, especially if you're looking at changing habits and you're
Mm,
and you go from someone that didn't really pay attention or care, and then all of a sudden you're working with a coach who is asking you to grocery shop and meal prep and like put some thought into it and plan. It feels like you're doing a lot of work. Like it feels
yeah.
like, wow, like this is, whew, like I'm going to get some amazing results because this is a lot of effort. And
And I actually find, I'm going to tie into that. I actually find like just feedback from some clients that I've had in the past that they feel with this approach, they're doing all the work.
yeah,
So they don't need a coach because
yeah,
it's all on them anyway. But it's not that you can't figure this out on your own. It's will you and will you do the work? It's the accountability. It's
sometimes it's the
the
accountability.
very little tidbits, but such important and critical tidbits that get you further and keep you
Yeah,
going. So
totally.
even though
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of the work, it doesn't mean that the product isn't absolutely worth.
Well, you can't, like, as a coach, you can't be in someone's kitchen. And that's what I always say.
Oh,
Like, you're hiring a coach to help you, like, put
mm,
together some, like, pieces in terms of, like, you know, food quality and, like,
yeah,
maybe volume of food and all of that. And then working through barriers as they come up and mindset. And
yeah,
ultimately, you're paying for that accountability.
yeah.
If you want somebody to do that for you, then you're hiring a personal chef. And, like, that's just like, do you have like $5,000 a month to pay someone to like
Yeah.
grocery shop for you and be in your kitchen and make, so like there
And
are
to
options,
continue to do
obvious.
that your entire
Yeah.
life.
There are
Yeah.
options with like meal prep services and stuff like that. But I do think
Yeah.
that leaning into an element of like doing some work and like making it part of your life, even on the hard days, even on the
Mm,
stressful days,
yeah.
is important. So so as I was saying, like putting in that work, sometimes it feels like your results don't come as quickly as you feel you deserve to have them because you're like, wow, this is big effort. I should see some big results. And it's like, oh, half a pound. Oh, nothing this week. And it's like that can be, I think, very challenging for people. Just making sure that folks understand like this approach is not about, yes, it's work, it's we're putting in effort, but we're changing habits because the alternative is just going back to what you were doing before and that didn't work for you. So
Yeah.
why not try this way and just
Yeah.
see like, where it can get you. And like ultimately, I think that it's this whole idea too of like having some pride in the fact that you are a person that takes care of yourself, having like identifying as a person that like leads a
Certainly.
healthy lifestyle and like really having some ownership and yeah, some pride over that. And I think that is something that, comes over time with practice and consistency after this is just who I am. This is what I do. And it also just starts to impact like your life at every level. So the nutrition piece, yeah, I think setting expectations is so important and really getting that exercise history. But another
Yeah.
thing that I think comes up a lot, and I think you probably experienced this too, in terms of like the fitness piece. And I was reminded of this as I dove into like learning how to skate ski and do biathlon in the last couple of years. I'm a very competitive person. Like I do all different types of competitions. I have my whole life competed in different sports, and I like to win. I like to be good at stuff, and I remember like really struggling with certain skills, like in CrossFit and having to like really work for them and just being so like excited when I finally got them and like, oh, I'm doing muscle ups and workouts now. And, oh, for me, it took a long time. Like it took a
Yeah.
lot of repetition. It took a lot of drills. It took hours and hours of work. And I think I was thinking of that when I was doing biathlon the other day, just about like, oh, I can't wait till I'm good at this. But also like having a really deep appreciation for all the work that like people who have been doing it for a long time, like some of the folks that we train with, they've been on their skis for 20 years. They've been, doing this like so much longer. And like, I'm glad that I'm at a place where I don't go to biathlon and expect or like sign up for a ski race. And like, I just expect that I should just like, well, I'm
Yeah.
here, I've been doing it. I should just like be good at it. Like that is not who I am. I literally sign
Yeah.
up for these races and I'm like, I'll be last. Like
Yeah.
I'm
And
100% in a spot where I'm like, I know this takes work and effort and
yeah.
repetition and like showing up. And I just wish that more CrossFit athletes, especially when they're first getting started, and I don't even care if you're 2 years in, like you don't just get like some people, the unicorns get to show up and just be awesome. Like
But a
they're
lot of
the
those people were doing something extremely difficult leading up to it.
or even specific, like your
Yes.
gymnast comes into CrossFit and she's really good at handstand push-ups or something. Yeah, she
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 just
did
gets
that. Like
to
that's what she
be
did.
good at that and just maintain and maybe work on it. But
Yes.
the rest of us are starting from ground zero. Yeah,
Exactly. And I think
a lot
like
different.
that's yes. And I think so often athletes need to be reminded and our clients need to be reminded, hey, like I know you want this, but you're just gonna have to work at it and
Yeah.
like just be okay with that. Like keep showing
Yeah.
up because it is so sweet when like the work pays off and you do the thing that you've been like working so hard to
Yeah.
try to achieve. But
Yeah.
there's no point in comparing yourself to other people. And there's certainly like it's a very like I would say like miserable place to be if you just have this expectation, well, like I should have this skill. I've worked hard enough. I've worked long
Yeah.
enough. And I would just
I've
say
worked
like,
hard enough, I've worked long enough, or maybe I worked at it and I got it in the past, but then I stopped doing those things that would maintain that skill or even make me better at that skill. And now
yeah,
I'm bothered at the fact that I don't have it anymore, which is
yeah,
a lot of gymnastics, to be honest. I
yeah,
mean, or if you're getting into the like higher level weightlifting, or even
yeah,
conditioning. You need to work those things very specifically long term. You can do it in different ways to keep it interesting. It doesn't have to be a beat down on the body, but
totally.
it
Yeah,
shouldn't be a beat down on the body all the time. But that's
yeah,
that's just what you have to do. And that's where we see like that's where I see, especially with muscle ups being a higher skill. I
yeah,
see people feel like, okay, I have great pull-ups. I have certain skills. I have time now to work on it. So let's start working on it together. And like it will take a while. And I think a while is 4 sessions. Okay, I give it 4 sessions and we will get this muscle up. And I'm like, years for some
Ye-
people,
yes,
depending
yeah,
on what's going on and depending on the interruptions in your training. Years. It
yeah,
doesn't mean that if you don't get it for years, you're never going to get it. And you might have
yeah,
to sidestep. Maybe you're not actually doing
yeah,
enough for you where you're at. Strength work specific to those skills.
totally.
But and that's where it can take years.
Yeah. And
But being patient
and
with.
yeah, be exactly. And just like again, managing expectations in
Mhm.
terms of like you have this goal of getting this skill, but you do it every 3 weeks for 10 minutes. Like you're
You're not earning
so
it. Like you
yeah.
have to earn those things. They don't just
Yes.
come to you. They will for a few.
Yeah.
You will see it happen for a few. And
Yeah.
I've had those jealous feelings in the past
You're
about
like,
what that is, but
ah,
like
yeah.
that's not most of us. We
Yeah.
have to be consistent long term, and a few months or even a 2 year CrossFitter. 2 years doesn't mean you earned RX. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you can do everything, 135 pound snatches and muscle ups right after that. It takes more than 2 years. And the
Yeah.
people you see doing this and doing this well have been in it for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I
what it
think
is.
it's just a consistent effort. And like, I think
Mm.
too, there's probably an element of like growth mindset, like being
Yeah.
okay with like, maybe you're not like naturally inclined to be like great at gymnastics. Maybe you don't have a natural inclination
Yeah.
for running, but you love the process of
Mm.
like trying. You really,
Yeah.
you enjoy the work of like, getting better. And I almost think that
That's the
that's
sweet
better.
spot. That's
Yeah, like
that's the clients that I love working with because I don't have to teach patience as much.
yeah,
Because you can't
yeah.
really teach it. You kind of have to get there and choose it on your own.
Well, and
But
I
those are
think
the
they
ones that will do the same thing over and
yeah,
over
over and
again,
over.
and they
Yes.
will break past barriers
Yes,
regularly because of that. They don't
absolutely.
mind the simple stuff.
They've done research too on this, like a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And like, there's strong like evidence that people who like have some natural talents sometimes are more likely to have a fixed mindset where they're, oh, I'm naturally good at something. So then all of a sudden, like they sort of like if they don't get something right away, then they won't continue to try because
Yeah.
they don't want to be perceived as failing. Whereas
Yeah.
someone who maybe has just always had to work a little bit harder at stuff and has that growth mindset of like, oh, I'm not great at this, but I'm going to keep trying till I get it.
Hmm.
Imagine tackling life like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, okay, I want to like get after this. And I think so even if it's maybe not your mindset right now, maybe you're someone who has struggled with a fixed mindset. I think you can work to develop a growth mindset. And I think it would
Yeah.
very positively impact your nutrition and fitness goals insofar as like, okay, like I'm going to have to work at this. I'm going to keep showing up and I'm really going to lean into the work and I'm going to enjoy the process and I'm going to just enjoy learning. And then, and then when you're rewarded with seeing that change that you're after, seeing that, accomplishing that goal, it's a very like powerful positive reinforcement. If I
Yeah.
work at this and I just stay with it, then I get
Yeah.
XYZ result. And it's pretty awesome stuff. So yeah, I think
And on the
like
sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
On the other side of that, it's maybe you don't actually want that skill or want that as your goal because you don't enjoy the work. You've tried to enjoy the work, whatever.
Yeah.
It's destroying you
Yes.
because you don't
Yes.
actually enjoy it. It's okay to give up that goal and move on to another one. You don't need to have everything as a goal, and just because I
Yeah.
like something doesn't mean you need to like it. There's other ways to be an incredibly fit, healthy, happy individual without having a very specific, especially we talk about CrossFit because there's just so many things that people want to do
Yeah.
very quickly. And it's okay if you just want to be great at weightlifting and decent at gymnastics, or you barely want to touch on gymnastics, like probably
Yeah.
going to be okay in life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, yeah, I mean, most people we talk about like wanting some of those skills. And I think that really like pertains to specifically like competitors, people that aspire to like do competitions. But most of the time, and most people are just showing up to like maintain their fitness, get stronger,
Yeah.
have some fun,
Yeah.
be in a supportive environment. And when we talk about managing expectations there, it's probably a slightly different conversation where it's like, yeah, just keep showing up, doing what you're doing. You're on the right path, get enough sleep, don't drink your face off on the weekends, eat some protein, and you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah. And be
Yeah.
okay with that. Be okay
Yeah,
with different.
totally. And then you'll have lots of time to like have like just the best life outside of the gym because ultimately I think that's what we're after is especially like as we, get on the other side of 35. It's like how is this really just like making my life better outside of the
Yeah.
gym? Like the gym should be like, something that is supporting everything else that you're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely you should enjoy it, but it should be like, yeah, it's adding to my life. So
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, I hope that everyone who's watched today found something that they can take away. If you have any questions, please use the contact information in the video description and reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you out. Okay, thanks, Megan.
Thanks.